Hi there, I'm Danny Flexen. Welcome to the latest edition of SecondsOut FLEXpectations. I'm here every Thursday, 4:30 PM, to look ahead to the boxing action coming. And this weekend, with all due respect to the likes of Chris Colbert and on these shores, Jack Massey, it's not a huge weekend for boxing, so I hope you can forgive me for taking a look a bit further ahead than usual, as this week the undercard for Tyson Fury's third fight with Deontay Wilder, set for July 24th, was rounded out with 3 heavyweight attractions, making 4 in total on the card. And I think what the promoters have done is very, very smart, in that they've recognised that there's not a great deal of public interest in the third fight between Fury and Wilder, mainly due to the comprehensive nature of Fury's victory in the rematch. Not a lot of people beyond Wilder's core team giving him a great chance to reverse his fortunes and come out on top against Fury in the trilogy fight. So they've recognised that, and they've decided to give fans who are on the fence perhaps about parting with their hard-earned cash for this pay-per-view, both in the US and the UK, a bit more to enjoy, a bit more to look forward to, and a bit more to influence their purchasing decision with these extra 3 heavyweight fights. And that's with all due respect to Rances Barthélemy, who is obviously on the card already. But they're all really good and intriguing heavyweight fights. None more so than the battle of unbeatens between the 15-0 Nigerian, highly touted for a long time now, Efe Ajagba, powerful, athletic, dangerous fighter, going up against Frank Sanchez, who hasn't quite, he's 18-0, Cuban, but he hasn't quite had the same hype around him as Ajagba, but is trained by Eddie Reynoso, so as part of that camp that includes Canelo Alvarez, the #1 for me pound-for-pound fighter in the world today, Ryan Garcia, Andy Ruiz, of course, as well now. And Sanchez appears to have all the tools ability-wise, but he can blow a bit hot and cold. He can be a bit lazy in the ring, but technically very good. Packs a punch in his own right as well. And they've both so far kind of fought the same level of opposition, the kind of trial horses and fellow prospects that most guys in heavyweight who are tipped for the top 10 to come across on the way up. But I think styles should mesh pretty well in this one. And you would expect, looking at the world rankings, I think Ajagba's only rated highly by the WBCs. They're number 9 at the moment, whereas Sanchez is rated in the top 15 of 3 of the major 4 governing bodies. I think he's like 6 or 7 with the WBO. That's his best of the bunch. But you would expect whoever comes out on top in their showdown to then be on the fast track to a heavyweight title shot. You know, we all want to see Joshua and Fury square off to settle heavyweight supremacy, but we need challengers for whoever does become the last man standing in that duel, or 2 duels if they do fight twice. And the winner of Ajagba Sanchez will be right in the mix. And they're both under the age of 30, which is great to see in the heavyweight division. There's a lot of guys vying for that top spot, the likes of, Joe Joyce, Luis Ortiz, still Dillian White, who are all the other side of that 30. And that's still young in heavyweight terms, of course, but it's good to see these guys still very young, and young in their careers as well, judging on how many fights they've had. It's nice to see the winner of that will then be in pole position for a world title shot, or certainly closing in on one. Then you've got the rematch between Adam Kownacki and Robert Helenius, who last year upset the odds to dole out the first defeat on Kownacki's record. The Polish heavyweight, crowd pleaser. He was in a great position. I think he was in the top 6 for all 4 major governing bodies, closing in on that world title shot. Exciting style, high work rate, aggressive. And everything seemed to be going to plan in the first 3 rounds against Helenius, who's always been able to punch, always had decent technical skills, but at this stage in his career, I think he's 37 now, so he's probably 36 then. A bit lumbering, bit slow. We saw Dillian White outpoint him in quite a boring fight a few years ago. I think that was 2017. Didn't look to have much left to trouble someone who was approaching his prime, like Kownacki. And it all seemed to be going in that direction for the first 3 rounds. And then, out of nowhere, Helenius was able to hurt Kownacki and dropped him twice. Referee, quite rightly, saved the Pole, who was all at sea. And just like that, Helenius breathed fresh life into his previously stagnating career, and now is on the verge of having a huge payday of his own if he can repeat the victory of a year ago over Kownacki. Although the Pole will be determined to exact revenge. He'll see, very much like Dillian Whyte in the first fight of Alexander Povetkin, he'll see that early on everything was going his way until one shot changed everything. I'm not sure if Kownacki will be more careful this time around. It's not really his natural style to be kind of patient and defense. I wouldn't say defensively responsible, but not overly so. So it'll be interesting to see how he approaches the rematch. Now he knows that Helenius has got the power to hurt him and to finish him. But that's a very intriguing rematch in his own right. Can Kownacki regain the momentum that saw him being tipped by many people to have a world title shot by the end of this year? That's not going to happen now, of course, but he can set himself up for a much better 2022 should he get past his old conqueror. And then the third one is an interesting heavyweight prospect in Jared Big Baby Anderson, who he's only had 9 fights so far, but has looked impressive to date. He's going up against a good opponent, a fellow unbeaten, a more experienced fighter in Vladimir Tereshkin. Tereshkin, no fear of going into an opponent's backyard. He's fought in several countries already as a pro, including Ukraine, Germany, the US previously. Last couple of fights, I think, have been out in Jamaica, of all places. So, not afraid to travel. He's got a draw on his record, but very early in his career. They've both, again, similar to the other fight I mentioned, they've both fought opposition that you would expect for heavyweight prospects. Not loads of padding, but certainly not taking undue risks either. Anderson has passed the eye test thus far, but this is his biggest test, certainly on paper, as a pro to date. So it'll be interesting to see how he performs, not just if he gets past Tereshkin, but how he performs in the fight. I think Tereshkin could prove a bit tricky for Anderson, so even if he does win, he might not look as great as he ever has, but if he does, it will certainly make a statement. So they've stacked the card and also conceptualized it by making so many heavyweight fights on one show, because not only do you get to watch who comes out on top in the third fight between Wilder and Fury, you can kind of visualize one of the undercard winners, whether it's Kownacki if he gets past Helenius, or the winner of Sanchez and Ajagba going up against the winner of Fury Wilder in the not too distant future. And I think the commentators and the marketing teams will be playing that aspect up, as they should. But for me, if I was at all on the fence about paying for Wilder Fury 3, and obviously in the UK we're expected to get up or not go to bed and watch Wilder Fury 3 at whatever time it might be, 3, 4, 5 o'clock by the time in the morning, by the time the main event comes around. This might just push me over the edge to actually buying it and watching it, although I'd still probably have a tactical nap before the real big fights kick off. But yeah, very impressive stuff. It's a deep card now, and very interesting matches and competitive matches. I think particularly the 2 heavyweight fights I mentioned, the Kownacki-Helenius rematch and the Ajagba Sanchez battle of unbeatens. I think they're, on paper, far more competitive fights than the main event, and involving some exciting heavyweight talent as well. Let me know what you guys think. Which of the 3 heavyweight fights that were added to the card most impressed you? And I guess more importantly, what are your predictions for the 3 fights? And add in Fury Wilder predictions if you so desire. I'll be back on Monday with reflections at 4:30 PM and Thursday for the next FLEXpectations at the same time. But I really appreciate you watching. Leave your comments below. I'll respond to some of them. Try not to make them too abusive, and I won't have to delete them. Really appreciate it. Take care, and I'll see you all soon.